Pro Football Talk just tweeted San Francisco and Minnesota talked Lance at the combine. Oh boy.
I think we knew. I think we knew that though. Didn't they report that already?
They talked Cousins. Cousins was but maybe it was a Cousins.
Okay, so it did. Okay, so they didn't say it was about, but obviously, I thought when they didn't know what was going on with Purdy, when he hadn't had a surgery yet and it was getting postponed, they were at the combine, and it was probably we could trade Lance for Cousins, and I bet Minnesota would do it. So Lance for Cousins, could that happen?
I'm going to read this on Pro Football Talk. At the scouting combine, there were rumors of a potential Cousins trade from Minnesota to San Francisco. Those rumors may have come from the reality that the Niners and Vikings had discussions about another quarterback. Per a league source, the two teams talked about Trey Lance. The source doesn't know whether that's currently happening. The Vikings have since restructured the Cousins contract. They take a significant cap hit, $38 million, if the Vikings traded Cousins before June 1st. But the Vikings need an answer for 2024 and beyond. It's unclear whether they.
Okay, how about this? If the Niners can't, their number one probably choice is to trade Trey Lance during the draft. That's when you get your best draft pick. But if you don't get a draft pick you want, you can wait until after June 1, see him in OTAs and minicamp, and then trade him for Kirk Cousins, which would just be so unpopular. But they could do that. Yeah.
And by the way, let's not act like, even though that is a big cap hit, it's been done before.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, that was the biggest cap hit anybody's ever taken, and Jared Goff.
It worked out.
Massive cap hit taken.
It worked out for both teams. They were both in the Super Bowl like the next year. One won, one lost. It's true.
True. I mean, this again, there's too much smoke around all of this for none of it to be true. There is too much. So that's another thing. Hey, John, not only did we have this report from Rappaport, now Mike Florio is saying you guys talked Kirk Cousins at the combine. Is that true?
Two separate questions. That's two. Perfect. Thank you, Mike Florio. Thank you, Ian Rappaport. They got to answer for this.
They have to.
They have to. Again, so what we're saying is first option, trade Trey Lance during the draft for a pick, probably a second-round pick. I don't think they're going to get it. If they don't get it, they can always call Minnesota up on June 1st and say, yo, remember what we talked about in February? We're interested.
And that happens all the time. Teams lay the groundwork for stuff at the combine or previous trade discussions all the time. And then they go back to it later as circumstances change. That would be my question. John Lynch, 1, are you fielding calls on Trey Lance? I would ask him that. 2, there was a report that you talked trading Trey Lance with the Vikings at the combine. Is that true? Have you talked about trading Trey Lance with people? Like specific, nail them down. And if he says, well, here we're talking about the draft. I don't give a crap, John. Nobody cares. You got the 99th pick in the draft. There's going to be 100 people that come off the board. We don't care. Quarterback is more important. It's more important. And that's what they don't get. They do not value the position properly in 2023.
Well, I mean, you look at John Lynch's background. He won a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson. That's his frame of reference. If he could do it, it can be done again. And I know it's crazy that Shanahans don't understand this because Mike won his Super Bowls with John Elway and Steve Young. But if you look at every single quarterback those two men, Kyle and Mike, have brought in since 1999, it's a bunch of Brad Johnsons, essentially. So this is what they want to do. They think you win with running and defense, both of them. And you know what? I don't think you do anymore, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. You're not freaking wrong. Those days are over. And yeah, you're right. It's weird to me that Mike Shanahan had John Elway, one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. You would think that he figured it out. Although, by the time he actually won the Super Bowl, John Elway was a shell of himself.
That's what Mike would say. He said, I coached John for all these years. When he was in his prime, we couldn't get it done. What I needed was Terrell Davis. They're all about the running back. And I bet Mike resents the hell. Mike isn't in the Hall of Fame. I think he thinks, well, John gets all the credit when it was really me and Terrell Davis. And I think Kyle and Mike are sensitive about the credit issue because Mike's not in the Hall of Fame. Whereas Andy Reid doesn't give a damn. He's like, it's all Patrick Mahomes, man. Give him the credit.
Now you're really galaxy braining this thing. You are going down a road now.
I love thinking about Shanahan's psychology because I've been covering him for like 7 years. I feel like I know him. I do.
Don't underestimate Mike Shanahan's role in this. Remember, he gets the practice film. Like he had an office at the 49ers facility. Like
Oh, yeah.
He is a massively important part of this.
It must be tough to be John Lynch or Adam Peters or a scout and to know that someone who's not in the organization, not employed by the team, can essentially overrule you at any time, and you don't even know that it's coming from him. Again, I bet you that Kyle and Mike decided Trey Lance was the pick, and they didn't even tell anyone in the organization, and a bunch of people were like, wait a second, could you fill us in? Where'd all that Mac Jones stuff come from? Probably from people who didn't freaking know and thought they did because they were in the loop.
They said that they didn't tell anybody. I mean, they have told us that, and I said that before the draft, that the person with the most influence on who the pick is going to be is somebody that doesn't work for the organization in Mike Shanahan.
I mean, I bet John Lynch didn't even know until like the week of the draft. I bet. He's a general manager of the team.
Why would you tell him? He doesn't really do anything. Gator 49er88 says, I swear to God, if Cousins becomes the quarterback of this team, that would be the first time in 30 years of 49er fandom that my fandom would be tested. All right, well, that's kind of a crazy statement. There's plenty of things the Niners have done to test your fandom in the last 30 years.
But yeah, Kirk Cousins, and year 7 it'd be one thing if they brought in Kirk Cousins initially when they were starting over. Like, look, this is the best we can do. I know Kirk Cousins, but after all of this, year 7 or 8, you're like, look, we've just fumbled it so much, but Jed's really patient and he's going to let us, do this. Like, you might as well have just kept Jimmy Garoppolo at that point.
Oh, well, don't say
What's
that.
the difference? Kirk's a little bit better. A little bit.
Kirk's better.
A little bit.
Kirk plays. Jimmy's always hurt. Kirk's better than Garoppolo. He is.
Yeah, a little, but not enough better.
No,
not enough better.
That's a fair argument.
Yeah.
So this is where we are. It's April 19th. We're basically 8 days away from the draft. The 49ers have clearly been talking to multiple people about trading Trey Lance. That is undeniable at this point.
Yep.
I mean, unless you're saying that Ian Rappaport is lying and that Mike Florio is lying and that none of this stuff is true, like you think that's more likely than, hey, the 49ers believe in Brock Purdy and they're willing to trade Trey Lance. Like, come on, let's the simplest explanation is often the correct one.
But what they need to explain also is how could Kyle Shanahan say that Trey Lance would have had an excellent season last season if he had been healthy and then turn around and trade him? How can you do both? So I guess that's another question for John Lynch. John, Kyle Shanahan said last year, because if he confirms that, yes, we are indeed listening to calls about Trey Lance. Well, Kyle said that he's very confident Trey would have had a really good season last year if he'd stayed healthy. If that's how you really feel, then why would you trade him?
Right. Why would you want two of those guys on your team?
Especially you think he's good, right? You said you think he's good. So why would you trade him? For what? Yeah. After all you gave up for him, after all you've invested time, money, picks, you're going to trade him for something way less after very little results. Because what? After you said he was good. You said he was going to succeed. You haven't seen him with Christian McCaffrey. Answer that, John. Respectfully.
I think that's a totally fair question. If you were convinced, as Kyle has said, that Trey would have done exactly what Brock did, then why wouldn't you want to have two of those guys on your roster instead of one coming off a career-threatening injury?
Especially respect your fans enough to have a story that tracks. You know what I'm saying? Just do that, because right now you're talking out of both sides of your mouth and expecting the fans and the journalists to be like, yeah, that makes total sense. Like, no, it doesn't.
Ethan says, why weaken an already weak area of the team? Makes no sense to trade Trey after 4 games. The Niners always play games with the media. I don't take stock.
Again, they would have to have Tom Brady in their back pocket to pull this off. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Well, if they do, then that's a master stroke.
Yeah,
Let me say that.
Sure.
But that would be a get out of jail free card for them.
Yeah, right? Of course.
That's the ultimate get out of jail free card.
It's not Cousins. It's Brady.
It's Brady. Right. We traded Trey Lance because we're going to get the picks back. We traded him for the most durable quarterback in the history of quarterbacks. And we have Brock Purdy in the back. Yeah. That's your get out of jail free card. But man, you got to hit it.
Do that. Don't tell me it's Sam Darnold. Tell me it's Tom Brady. There's a big difference there.
And as frustrating as it would be for Trey Lance to get traded at that point, I'd have to be on board with. I mean, it's Tom freaking Brady. Like, what are we talking about here?
Great, you go win the Super Bowl. But Kyle, that would mean Kyle, shrink your ego, listen to Tom, give him input on the offense, let him call audibles. I mean, all kind of things a lot of growth would have to happen for this organization. It'd be good stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's a serious question, right? Like, I think that's why I wasn't totally confident that the Aaron Rodgers thing would work out. Because is Aaron going to just want to go along with whatever Kyle Shanahan says? I don't think so. So
I don't like Aaron Rodgers anymore. There's something about him. He's just not a leader, and I think he's becoming a negative, toxic force on a team. Brady's not like that, and Rodgers isn't even physically what he used to be anymore. His numbers were like Jimmy Garoppolo-esque last year. I'd rather have Brady. That's me.
In a life or death situation last year at the end of the season against the Lions, who had nothing to play for, Aaron Rodgers couldn't get it done. Had one of his worst performances of the season.
Not for me. Brady's the one. I don't think necessarily Aaron Rodgers is the savior here. But the thing about Brady is, wouldn't it be interesting if they went to him and be like, "Hey, man, you want to come out of retirement just for 1 year and play?" He's like, "Yeah. But what's up with that right side of your offensive line? Get back to me when you figure that out." That's what I would say.
Maybe that's why they're trying to trade Trey Lance.
That's what I would say.
Replace the right tackle. Hey, Tom, we fixed it. We patched.
I like 3/5 of your offensive. I like 4/5 of your offensive line. But what's up with right tackle?
Well, I mean, look what the Bucs did. The Bucs got Brady, traded with the 49ers for Tristan Wirfs. Correct. So like that just happened.
Yeah. So that could be it. I don't know. It just seems like Tom Brady. I mean, what else is he going to do this year? He already got divorced. Sorry, not to make it personal, but it's like you already blew up the family to have one more year. It didn't go so well. Why not one more? I'm just saying. Sorry, Giselle.
This is just what a day. It's never boring with the 49ers. There is always something. One more.
And for that, I'm grateful.
That's true. Geldon says, what big 49er move has the media gotten right? What do you, mean by that?
I was going back and I looked at Ian Rappaport. I wanted to look up, I searched 49ers Mac Jones on Ian Rappaport's page because I was trying to get a gotcha moment. Like, you said they were going to take Mac Jones. No, actually, he said it came down to Trey Lance and Mac Jones. So it sounds like Ian Rappaport at least hears the Niners story before everyone else does.
Can I just say something? Because it's been driving me crazy since 2021. People use the Mac Jones thing as a way to ignore and hand wave away every rumor and media report about the 49ers that they don't like. Oh, true. Well, this guy said this. He said we were going to take Mac Jones. You can't, everybody was wrong, okay? Everybody was wrong about the 49ers and Mac Jones. That doesn't mean that everybody's wrong about every negative thing that comes out about the 49ers since then. I hate that people do that.
Agree. It almost felt like an experiment that Kyle and his dad were doing. Like, look, let's not tell anyone who we're taking. Let everyone think we're taking Mac Jones and see who the rat is in the organization. It almost seemed like an experiment.
They've said,
and then a bunch of people left. Yeah.
They said they liked the fact that everybody thought they were going to take Mac Jones. They liked it. And I understand why they would, right? You never let them know your next move. But just to say, well, you thought they were taking Mac Jones, so that means you can't possibly be right about anything that you say in the future is dumb, and people need to stop doing it.
I think we've learned, a lot of people were thinking like that for a while, and then we see people who break news be right about a lot of stuff. It's like, they're connected. You're not. So don't just act like you know more.
People don't just make stuff up. Ian Rappaport did not wake up this morning and say, I think I'm going to start some shit about Trey Lance today. Let me just tweet this out. Okay, there we go.
Now, some people just make stuff up, but not people who've made it that far in the profession. Some people do just make stuff up, but I think it's not going to be Ian Rappaport, man. He would get replaced by NFL Network so fast. There's another Ian Rappaport they could put in there.
You've been covering this team for since 2011, I think?
Yeah.
I've been in the sports media business for almost 15 years. I can tell you from firsthand experience, the amount of times that somebody just makes something up out of the blue is like 0.001%. It almost never happens. So
because if they get caught, you're done. It's over.
You're done.
It's over. The whole thing.
So Ian Rappaport is going to wake up and jeopardize his job with NFL Network because why? He wants a little clout on Twitter? Like, what are we doing here?
There was one guy, I remember a few years ago when LeBron was, when Kawhi was picking where he was going to go, there was a guy named Aryeh Abraham on Twitter who reported that Kawhi was going to the Lakers. Like, he knew it, and then he was wrong, and then he deleted his account. Like, that guy was really, people don't remember Aryeh Abraham? He was getting written about as he was breaking stories apparently as an undergrad, I think at USC. He was totally bullshitting the whole time. Anyway, he was totally bullshitting the whole time. It's great. He's trying to out Woj. Sorry.
Can't out Woj. Tyler,
can't out Woj.
Do you think this organization craves attention just like Rodgers? I don't think they dislike attention. I'll say that.
It's a good point, man. I hadn't thought of it, but yeah. I think so. I think Jed loves it. I don't know that Kyle really cares. I don't know that John Lynch really cares, but I think Jed freaking loves it. Yes. Yeah.
My man Vish Kumaran is texting me Ian Rappaport from Pat McAfee show last year saying that the Lions and the Jets made offers for Debo. And I said, why are you sending me this? And he said, the gist is they've gotten offers, but they have no interest in moving them. So maybe he's trying to feel better about the Trey Lance situation. I don't know. But yeah, I mean,
but they weren't talking about Debo last year. Like he's not the leader in the clubhouse and we like him on the team right now. Like right. Debo wanted out and the Niners were like, oh, there's nothing, like we'll work this out. Like he's just a little emotional right now. I mean, it's a whole different situation. Trey's not mad at them. They're mad at Trey for some stupid reason.
He may get mad at them at some point. Yeah. That is a factor that has to be considered also. Batman Lives XXX says, if both 100% fit, what are you getting for Trey or Brock Purdy? I mean, you'd get more for Trey than Brock at this point, I think, just because Brock's a bigger question mark physically.
They're not, though. They're not, though. We don't live in that world. That's an alternate reality where Brock Purdy didn't blow up his UCL. So, right. I mean, I don't know, but that world doesn't exist. Doesn't.
Miguel says, Darnold keeps getting opportunities when he's a fumble-picking machine. It's crazy to think the 49ers are willing to give him a chance over Lance. Yeah,
he fumbled 5 times in his last 2 starts last season. 5 times. He didn't lose all of them, but the ball fumbled from his hands 5 times. Like, no.
I keep putting it on the screen. I have this topic bar saved. 90 combined interceptions and fumbles in 56 career games. You know how hard it is to fumble and throw that many interceptions? That's almost 2 a game for his career.
I don't think he's going to fix it. I think he would have fixed it by now. You know,
if he was gonna, it was all Adam Gase's fault in New York, and then he went to Carolina and he sucked in Carolina, and Baker Mayfield took his job. But no, now he's gonna be good. I mean, God.
No coach never told him to squeeze the ball a little harder with his hands. Like no one ever told him, hey man, you keep fumbling, squeeze it a little harder. Like, he did this shit in college too. I'm sorry, no, it's not gonna happen for the guy.
The 4 most dangerous words in football scouting are "I can fix him." Guess what? No, you can't. No. You can't. The amount of times a player actually gets fixed compared to the amount of times they're the exact same player they've always been is minuscule.
And let's say I gotta go. I got a show that starts at 10, but let's go out on this point. It's a great point. You drafted Trey Lance knowing he needed fixing. He was a project. The throwing mechanics weren't perfect. You took on that project. You said, we can fix him. We're a great organization with great coaches. Then you realized, fuck, we can't fix him. Let's get rid of him. And now you're going to turn around and try to fix Darnold? Darnold, who's a freaking head case, has no confidence and is a walking turnover? You guys have no self-awareness. 0.